How can the ocean be defined as Earth's last wilderness? This place of, infinite scale, untouched by humanity, while at the same time being the single most essential and, frankly, most fragile part of our global life support system.
It's a fundamental contradiction, isn't it?
It is. We depend on it for the very air we breathe, for a stable climate, for our survival. And yet, we treat it like it's inexhaustible, like it's still unexplored territory. That dangerous duality is really the provocative starting point for the book we're analyzing today.
You are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's Notebook LM for deeper, more dynamic book summaries.
And we're trying something a little new with this one. It's an extended summary. So unlike our previous reviews, which are more of a focused analysis, this is a comprehensive overview. We're tracing the intellectual roots, the key arguments, and the real-world impact.
Right, a complete top-to-bottom look.
Exactly. So if you appreciate this expanded format, if you find it helpful, please let us know. Your feedback will help shape future content.
So what's the book?
Today we are diving into Ocean, Earth's Last Wilderness. It's a monumental work of popular science and nature writing, co-authored by Sir David Attenborough and his longtime collaborator Colin Budfield.
And the book's mission is pretty clear from the get-go. It's structured as, well, it's a guided tour of the world's seas using Attenborough's decades of filming expeditions. The whole point is threefold.
Okay.
First, to help you grasp the intricate mechanisms of how the ocean actually works. Second, to show you why its health matters. And crucially, third, to show how rapidly it is changing.
So to set that scene, they start with a subject of truly immense scale.
They have to. The book's setting covers all the major ocean basins. We're talking Pacific reefs, North Atlantic kelp forests, the Arctic, the Southern Ocean ice margins. But the key point here, the intellectual foundation, is this idea of the global ocean as a single interconnected system.
Right. And that emphasis on interconnection is really the engine of the book's early chapters. They don't just say the ocean is important. They lay out the fundamental oceanographic mechanisms that prove it. It's like a primer.
Exactly. You learn how these vast currents circulate, moving heat and nutrients around the globe, how sunlight and depth literally shape where life can exist.
And it gets into the deep science of it all. The book highlights the sea's role in oxygen regulation. I mean, it's not just a metaphor, a planetary lung.
No, not at all. The authors cite evidence showing that oceanic, phytoplankton tiny marine plants generate up to 70% of the oxygen we breathe. This moves the conversation past just general concern and into absolute dependency.
And then there's the climate piece. The book details how the ocean acts as this massive carbon sink, absorbing about a quarter of the CO2 we release every year. It's a critical buffer.
It is, and they use that foundation to show that actions taken even far inland, say deforestation or pollution, can echo through climate and weather patterns worldwide, because scientifically, nothing in the marine system is truly isolated.
That holistic view is what makes the narrative so effective. So who are our guides through this massive system?
Well, Sir David Attenborough is a primary character. He's the first-person narrator recounting these specific personal dives, the logistical nightmares of filming remote marine life, and these incredible boat journeys over his career.
Okay, but wait. Is it really fair to call Attenborough the primary character? Colin Budfield provides all the policy and campaign context. Doesn't that risk oversimplifying the conservation side of things? The stories are great, but you need that structure.
That's a fair challenge, and the book addresses it. Attenborough provides the on-the-ground observation, the first-hand account of a changing reality. But Attenfield then provides that necessary structure, the policy background, the campaign context that grounds the personal stories in the broader global effort.
So they work in tandem.
Exactly. And they also feature unnamed scientists, conservationists, local fishers who appear in these powerful anecdotes. It reinforces that conservation is a collaborative, policy-driven effort.
I think the collaboration works because the narrative progression is just so logical. After setting the stage, they take us on a journey from the familiar to the extreme. The book's core structure is a progression through 8 key habitats.
And this journey mirrors how ocean science itself advanced. You start with the visually familiar, the things we could see, and move deeper and more remote as technology allowed.
So what's on the tour?
It's a comprehensive list. They mix the accessible with the extreme. We start with shallow, sunlit ecosystems like coral reefs and coastal mangroves. Then the narrative plunges into temperate kelp forests, the open ocean gyres, the crushing abyssal depths, and remote seamount chains.
And it finishes at the poles.
It does, with the freezing extremes of the Arctic and the Southern Ocean ice environments.
And to make this more than just a travelogue, The book does a fantastic job using specific case studies to bring the science to life. The marine life feels like an ensemble cast.
Oh, absolutely. Let's take the kelp forest example. The book describes sea otters meticulously cracking clams. It's a charming image, but it's there to introduce the concept of a trophic cascade.
Explain that.
The book explains that when otters are present, they keep sea urchin populations in check. Without the otters, the urchins just devour the kelp, creating these urchin barrens, and the whole ecosystem collapses. The sea otter is the linchpin.
This is where it gets really interesting for me. They also use the example of upwelling, that cold, nutrient-rich water being driven up from the deep. The book clearly explains that upwelling is the engine that powers the world's most productive fisheries.
It dictates where life is on a massive scale. It's not just fish are important, it's why the fish are there in the first place.
And when they go into the deep sea, the writing is phenomenal. They move beyond familiar concepts and detail things like the discovery of octopuses congregating on a massive whale carcass, a whale fall.
That anecdote is far more pivotal than it seems. Because food is so scarce in the abyssal zone, a single dead whale is this enormous long-term energy event. It creates an entire ecosystem that can last for years, sometimes decades.
Which completely changed our understanding of how life survives down there, far from the sun.
It connects those isolated spots of deep sea life right back to the surface. It links the whole system together again.
If you're finding this comprehensive analysis helpful, you should check out Mindful Moments, our YouTube channel. It offers AI book analysis, summaries, and critiques, all designed to inspire reflection and rational thought. It's also valuable for aspiring authors looking to understand narrative structure and thematic depth.
So moving into the middle of the book, there's a crucial shift in tone. And Attenborough's personal journey reflects that. His early expeditions were just pure wonder.
Right, at the pristine nature of it all.
Exactly. But his mid-career realization was that even those incredibly remote sites were starting to show undeniable signs of human impact. It introduces this necessary element of concern.
That turning point must have been devastating. I mean, can you imagine filming a pristine reef one year and then returning a decade later to find most of it bleached white? That emotional weight really powers the second half.
It does. And the book uses his changing perspective as a mirror for the scientific milestones that redefined our view of the ocean. Think about the discovery of hydrothermal vent communities in the 70s.
Ecosystems thriving without sunlight.
Right, powered by chemosynthesis. That discovery fundamentally changed how we even define life and the possibility of it on other planets. And the new technology, like deep-sea submersibles, changed everything.
And there were other breakthroughs, too.
Yes, like the new understanding of coastal vegetation. The book details how mangroves and seagrasses store vast amounts of blue carbon. This shifted our view of them from just stabilizing shorelines to being critical climate assets.
Capable of sequestering carbon far faster than most forests on land.
And then you have the advent of satellite mapping for tracking ocean temperatures and chlorophyll. This gave us an unprecedented system-wide view of global marine health.
And this is where the narrative shifts from wonder to alarm, because those new tools expose the true scope of the problem.
Unfortunately, yes, these milestones often serve to flag deeply ominous developments. The book treats them like pivotal plot points: accelerating ice melt, rising acidification, massive coral bleaching events, and the terrifying scale of plastic accumulation in the ocean gyres.
Let's focus on acidification for a second. The book is very direct about this. It explains that the ocean absorbing all that extra CO2 isn't benign. It chemically changes the water.
It makes it harder for organisms at the very base of the food web to form their calcium carbonate shells. This threatens a fundamental disruption of the entire marine food chain. It's subtle and potentially devastating.
And crucially, the book leaves the ultimate long-term consequences of all this unresolved. It avoids a simplistic, despairing conclusion, but it also refuses to offer a neat, tidy ending.
Which maintains this necessary tension, this uncertainty. It's a powerful motivator for urgent action.
And the focus then pivots entirely toward that action, toward hope. The later chapters are all about near-future possibilities and real-world interventions that have already started.
This is where they demonstrate, with evidence, that changing our policies and practices can lead to measurable ecological responses.
They sketch out a scientifically grounded scenario of a restored ocean using successful projects as examples.
Right. They look at the success of large, well-enforced marine protected areas, citing cases where fish stocks have rebounded, sometimes tripling their biomass in just a decade.
And it's not just about grand policy. They show localized success stories, the rebuilding of specific regional fisheries, community-led reef, and mangrove restoration.
It shows that the sea can begin to recover quite quickly when destructive practices like trawling are reduced or coastal vegetation is allowed to return.
So the central theme is really this tension between exploitation and stewardship.
Exactly. By framing the sea as both last wilderness and essential life support system, the authors build this undeniable argument. The future of our civilization is inextricably bound to the health of marine habitats.
The ultimate goal of this book, then, seems clear. To arm you, the reader, with concrete knowledge of how the seas function, how they're changing, and what recovery actually looks like.
And that depth of knowledge is essential so you can better evaluate policies, your own choices, and engage effectively in public debates about marine protection. The work has been praised for balancing the stark accounts of damage with genuinely uplifting stories of successful conservation.
It makes the crisis feel manageable and actionable, but without diminishing its severity. A really important, timely contribution to environmental writing. So as you consider the book's dual message of urgency and hope, ask yourself this: what specific evidence-based action, drawn from the successful case studies in this text, will you prioritize today to protect the interconnected system that sustains us all?
A powerful question.
Click the link on screen for the in-depth book critique. Subscribe, share with other ocean-curious readers, consider purchasing the book via authorized links, and keep thinking rationally about how evidence-based action can shape the future of our blue planet. See the many genre-based book podcasts at Mindful Moments. Subscribe and nourish your mind on the go.